Hello, this is to help you with the cross-stitch scarf from 101 Skein Wonders, Designer One Skein Wonders, by Margaret Halas, Halas, I don't know how to say it. For those of you who have been taking it apart and redoing it repeatedly, as I once did, I thought I would create this because I looked on YouTube and I looked for other videos and I had no such luck, and it's been a while since I've looked, so hopefully nobody's coming out with one, but if they have, here's another one. So the pattern requires you to cast on 21, and I'm just using some lame acrylic yarn that I have, and there's 21 stitches on there. The pattern calls for you to knit 2 to begin with. So we're knitting 2, and when I start I always keep both the tail and the yarn together. It kind of helps me weave it in as well as keep it from unraveling faster. So I will go ahead and basically go until I run out because I did a long tail cast on. So you knit 2, and then you're going to turn it over and reach into the second stitch in the back loop. So again, the second stitch, the back loop, and you're going to grab your yarn. You are going to keep that on there, don't let it go. You're going to come back around to the front. When you come back around to the front, you're going to go into the front of the first stitch on the needle. And then you're going to grab that one and knit through normally and pull both stitches off. And that's your first stitch. So again, what you're going to do, basically knit through the back loop on your second stitch on the needle, right there. Grab it and knit it like you normally would, but leave it on the needle. Then grab the front of the first stitch and knit normally. You need to do this loosely because it gets very tight and very frustrating, and you can't get this size 11 needle through there very easily when you haven't knitted loosely. So I'm going to finish the row so I can show you the purl side. Now, one of the things that I myself managed to forget in the pattern was that pesky little knit 1 at the end. There are 3 stitches still on the needle. In the pattern, if you're not paying attention, at the very end of row 1, it says knit 1 and then knit 2 more. You end and begin every row with knit 2. But at the end of the knit row, you have to knit an additional one because you have 17 in the middle. So you have 2 on the ends, which leaves you with 17, and you have an oddball because you're working in pairs all the way through. You don't need to, if you forget that, you're going to end up with strips and it doesn't weave the way you want it to. So you want it to actually overlap like a cross stitch pattern instead of column. You'll end up with columns that zigzag and it doesn't look very good at all. So for the next row, we turn our work, we knit 2, and then we're going to purl our cross stitch pattern. And the way we're going to do that, bring the yarn to the front, reach into the first one, or excuse me, reach into the second stitch on the needle, and purl. Leave it on the needle, and then go into the first stitch on the needle and purl that, and slide them both back off. Then, again, second stitch, purl, first stitch, purl, and keep both on the needle. Second stitch, first stitch, they're both on the needle, we're sliding them off. So, as long as you're familiar with knit and purl, you should understand what's going on so far, but I know that when I kept taking mine apart, it was because I had somehow lost a stitch somewhere, and I kept coming up with columns. And on top of that, nowhere in that pattern does it say to knit through the back loop of the second stitch. Instead it says to knit the second stitch and keep it on there, which makes no sense. It doesn't work. It's frustrating. Let me finish this row. And if you do end up weaving both of your pieces of yarn together, your tail and what your working piece is, make sure you don't split them when you work with them. Okay, so now we're back down to the final 3. Again, the pattern says that with the final 3, you need to purl, we're on the purl side, you need to purl that odd stitch. And when you purl that, you're back to your 2 knits. So what we're going to do is knit those 2, and we're back to the beginning of our work. And it helps if I don't snag the yarn. That'd be great, don't you think? Okay, so there are your first 2 rows. So again, to the knit side, I'm sure you've probably replayed this a couple times. 1, 2, we've knit our first 2, don't forget. Come in through the back loop of the second stitch. Bring it forward and around. We're going to come from back, put it in front. Come around here, grab our yarn, and pull it through. We have both of those on there. We're sliding 2 off of the other needle. You following? Back loop, front loop, and off. And that, I know this is ugly yarn, that is how you make the cross stitch pattern. As you can see, it's not columning, it's actually crossing over. There's a cross over here, and then there's the back here. And that's going to happen all the way across if you do it the right way. I happen to have made this with Malabrigo, and it came out gorgeous, but this is some crap acrylic that I had laying around. So I hope this helps. Good luck!